and I brought that old thing back. I brought that old thing back. We want that old thing back. Got that old thing back. Need that old thing back. Want that old thing back. Want that old thing back. Got that old thing back. Want that old thing.
All right, welcome everyone. Our current
Hello,
session
hello,
is
hello.
yes. Our current session is the Renewable Energy Panel, and it's moderated by Cosco Jones, and I will turn it over to him. We ask that you please mute your microphone. There will be a time for question and answer after the panelists have presented, and at that time you can unmute your microphone and to ask your question. All right, thank you.
All right. Well, greetings to everyone. My name is Cosco Jones. I'm moderating this wonderful renewable panel that we have going on right now. Please feel free to submit any questions that you have on the Hoover app, and we will circle back around to them. First, we are going to start with three presentations, but let me start out with the bios for our presenters and our panelist members. We have Ms. Tonya Hicks here, as well as Ms. Dana Redding, and we're expecting Ms. Jonelle Minefee as well. I'm going to start with Ms. Dana Redding's bio. So she is the founder of Solar Stewards. Solar Stewards creates real-world opportunities for a more inclusive, clean energy economy. The program provides a toolkit for collaboration, equity, and impact in on-site solar development for organizations that serve the community, such as affordable housing, universities, and schools, nonprofits, as well as municipalities. Through their unique model, they combine both environmental and social attributes to help committed private sector leaders and strategic clean energy commitments that also directly benefit traditional marginalized communities. So it sounds like she's out there playing in the same, helping people get access to renewables, through strategic partnerships, which is a beautiful thing. Erica is also here as the other moderator. I'm going to let you go ahead and jump in for the next block.
Excellent. So also on our panel today, we have Ms. Tonya Hicks. Ms. Tonya Hicks is the president and CEO of Power Solutions Incorporated and the managing principal of Women Do Everything, LLC. Ms. Hicks is a serial entrepreneur and journey wireman electrician in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. She became the first woman to become a journeyman wireman in local 917 of the IBEW in her hometown of Meridian, Mississippi. She is one of the first few African-American women to join the IBEW in the state of Mississippi. Ms. Hicks was featured in Forbes Japan for expanding her business in Singapore and the New York Times for her progress as a tradeswoman and business owner in the construction industry. She has 2 sons and enjoys golf, cooking, gardening, and volunteering in the community, and also has a wealth of information in her bio, which is also in the Hoover app that you can read more about. Back to you, Cosco.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let you go ahead and start your presentation, Dana, just for sake of time. And we're looking forward to seeing what you share. Do you want to have anything to share before you start it?
Great. Now I'll jump right in. I'm looking forward to the Q&A, so I'll try to keep mine brief and cover a lot of stuff at the same time. All right. So shall I?
Follow her. Go ahead.
This is me. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Solar Stewards, that is our newest venture. I've been in the solar field for 12 years now. Started in California, in San Diego, when there was an amazing program called the California Solar Initiative, or CSI, that gave, you know, a new person like me a chance to really get involved. And that is really where I learned the basics of solar, working for a contractor. Unfortunately, however, this contractor wasn't the most honest and forthright. He wanted me to oversize systems and finance people at crazy rates, 21, 25%. And that is where I came up with the business model that I used to start another business once I moved to Atlanta in 2009. So in 2009, I moved to Atlanta. That is when I realized that solar has a lot to do with policy. And so I'll be talking about mainly financial tools to develop more solar, as opposed to maybe technical tools for the development of solar on the ground, like modules, inverters, balances of systems. But Solar Concierge, I founded in 2012. That was a pivotal year for solar in the United States, in that there was an influx of imported solar. It made the cost of installs go down, and that made it more economical for places where the policy didn't support solar, like Georgia at the time, and arguably today as well. So that said, in doing the consulting work, even though there were better pricing and things were coming to fruition, there was the ARA funds from the stimulus helped get some projects done, some demo projects. I still found that a lot of people were being left out. And that is where Solar Stewards comes in. So Solar Stewards really helps to pull all those tools together to help people go solar. And we had to get creative, but luckily there's so much out there. It just takes knowing what those resources are. So let me begin. This is our Solar Stewards Nexus. So really our innovation as a social enterprise out here is our social renewable energy credits. And I'll get into the weeds what those are in a little bit. But more importantly, for those that don't have any solar right now, we also bring third-party solar investment. So that is a proven method of financing solar, where an investor will come, they'll own those solar assets on your rooftop. They get all the tax credits. They're in charge of the operations and maintenance. And you pay basically a lower utility bill for that clean power through what's called a power purchase agreement. So that's what you see our impact investment, those little hands you see there. The solar host sites, those are the folks looking to go solar. Now, Solar Stewards focuses on places of worship, schools, again, affordable housing costs. I think you went over that a little bit, but anybody who touches the community. So one of the things that we do in our Solar Stewards program is recognize that there is an intrinsic extra value to solar that is directly serving communities, whether it's a YMCA somewhere, you know, again, a church, or on affordable housing. And then on top of that, one of the most fun things that I like to do is fold in what we call our community partners. And those are the folks you see down there with the little brains swirling. So we like to bring in STEM education programs when we're looking at a school, workforce training programs whenever we can. And that is really expanded to even prairie restoration services for an array out in the Midwest, given an endangered bee a little bit more habitat. So that's kind of the nexus of our program. I wanted to talk more about some of the applications that I see the continent of Africa really developing and running with, which has just been so amazing for solar development all over the world. One of which really is taken off, and this is nothing new. Many of you probably have heard of AG solar before, but again, a lot of the barriers to entry for solar are those upfront costs. So AG solar, pay-as-you-go solar, most notably the one that I've been following and been kind of a fangirl for several years, M-Kopa out of Kenya, basically provides a smaller scale system, very small, as in like, you know, a radio, a TV, maybe a little like a dorm fridge kind of setup. But you can pay basically for that electricity as you use it, pay as you go, right? So this, you know, you see a little verbiage on here, pay as you go. Usually it's matched with telecom models. So, one of the ways that you're billed for your, it's almost like software as a service, if you've heard of that. One of the ways you're billed is through your telephone. So there's been a lot of business unification with the telecom and these energy companies, and to be able to provide this basically as an as-you-go basis. So this model is really taken off across the continent. Now it started in East Africa, as far as I'm aware. It's really moved into West Africa as well. And not only do you have solar at your disposal, but you're not dependent on, let's say, kerosene, cooking types of things. In addition to pay-as-you-go, there are different models for these small, let's call them kind of little micro systems. Now, it's great that everybody has a solar to at least power a light or some small appliance. That will, but not in the bigger scale, generate economic development. So there's a couple more tools that I'll cover fast here. So this is just a couple of pictures of pay-as-you-go. I'm not sure if that one's actually, looks like it's in India. As you can see, it's pretty set. You just set it up. And that's just the best, one of these the greatest fortes for solar, to be able to just meet rural applications quickly. Now, this is really what Solar Stewards gets into, IREC. So renewable energy credits, what are those? So a market tool to develop more solar came out of the 90s called renewable energy credits. It's important to note that these are different from kilowatt hours, right? Kilowatt hours, that's energy that you use. These credits are different. So you can either buy them bundled, as in it comes with the kilowatt hours, or unbundled, and you can kind of separate from the kilowatt hours. So this is really more of an unbundled strategy. I'll start calling them RECs now, renewable energy credit RECs. RECs are what you see corporates buying when they say we're 100% renewable. So they do make an effort to go and develop all of these solar assets, typically where they have a lot of load, or as in they use a lot of power. But for the most part, it's kind of hard to build all of that capacity. What they do is they pair with other sources of generation, hopefully close to their load within that network, and they buy these renewable energy credits. So every megawatt hour that a solar array or system generates is called a renewable energy credit. Depending on where you're at, they can be worth a lot of money. Typically, that value is driven by legislation or some type of standard. In the US, that standard's called a Renewable Portfolio Standard, or RPS. Now, here's the problem. In my estimation, and several others, these weren't really built to scale. And we also know that these corporations are multinational corporations. They're all over the world. They're putting data centers in Accra. They're everywhere. So why wouldn't they be buying these renewable energy credits everywhere? Well, now they're starting to. So this is great news. It's great news because if you're developing a solar array, that this could mean additional revenue for your system, for solar developers. And that's what Solar Stewards really does. We include an equity value in renewable energy credit markets. We recognize that there's an additional value with these corporations' environmental and social governance goals, ESG. And so we pair that and help developers in communities get their projects pushed forward a little bit, faster, better, with a big stakeholder. And so that concept is already on the continent. And the standard for those are called International Renewable Energy Credits. So several countries have already signed up to be a part of this network: Kenya, Morocco, Nigeria, and that was, I just checked out, that was last year I checked. So there's several more, and they have to go through a governmental process to get on the network, but as you can see, it's growing. So that just means additional tools for development. So IREX, one of the tools that, you know, is now becoming more available in helping develop these microgrids. And just to say, we're moving to more of a decentralized energy mix. What does that mean? That means that in the future, we'll have fewer big centralized sources of generation, like a nuclear plant, like a coal plant or natural gas, or even you know, utility scale solar. We're moving towards more of a distributed or decentralized mix, meaning there's small sites that are located closer to where people use the load. And because of the inherent properties of solar, you know, where sunlight touches, you can generate power. So that has helped, one of the things that has helped this new democratization of energy, right? That's the biggest, the buzzword title for it. Very exciting. I think as Cosco mentioned earlier, you know, in order to have sovereignty, you've got to have your own power. I mean, power is one of the biggest economic drivers you have. So microgrids, they're exciting, as you can see. There's a taking off. There's a lot of technologies to help microgrids talk to one another, and that's my last and next final point. Peer-to-peer energy. This is really just gets me so excited. Peer-to-peer. I mean, there's a lot of analogies for it. It's smart solar. It's like the internet of solar. It's like Uber for solar. What does that mean? Well, it helps these distributed generation sites that I just spoke of, you know, the decentralized model, speak to one another. So not only are you generating power, but you can, through a platform, say, you know, I'm not going to be using that power next week because I'm going out of town. I'm going to sell it to my neighbor at this rate and price. That's what peer-to-peer technology is. The biggest barrier for peer-to-peer right now is incumbent systems. The centralized model is the utilities of the world. You think they had a hard time wrapping their head around solar. Well, this is really a paradigm shift for them. So all that to say, good news is that makes those without a centralized grid kind of first in line for peer-to-peer adoption, where you can have you know, microgrids talking to one another. Of course, you still have to have some level of existing infrastructure, but you are very well positioned to embrace peer-to-peer markets, which I clearly see as the future. And even in the United States, as of last month in September, I think it was the 17th, so October, right? The federal FERC, Federal Electric Regulatory Commission in the US said, you know what, we're going to let these distributed energy resources participate in wholesale markets and retail markets for the most part. That was huge, groundbreaking ruling that just signals to the market that these distributed energy sources are going to play a much bigger role in our future. So why else is peer-to-peer important? Well, it helps you to produce a revenue stream. Certainly energy poverty is a big thing. Energy burden is a huge thing. But, you know, that's usually just to offset your consumption. You still need something to pay a bill, right? Peer-to-peer, if you have solar, it'll help you monetize it. How can I put this also, if you've ever heard of net metering, a buzzword here, net metering is where the utility will pay you for extra power that you generate from your solar array. Well, this is kind of net metering for a cliche on steroids, or just, you know, much more bi-directional. You can sell it to a whole bunch of people, as this cute little illustration with the little glowing lights shows. So that's where the term prosumer comes in. And I think a lot of us are, it's kind of like a shared economy. Okay, I think I'm over time, but guess what? That's it. So thank you very much. Looking forward to the rest of everything.
You were fine. I was saying we had about 5 minutes, but it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Hicks?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tonya Hicks, and I'm the president and CEO of Solutions. As the young lady stated, I'm a journeyman wireman in the IBEW, which is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I'm the first Black woman to be electrician in the union in the state of Mississippi and the first in my local 917 in Meridian, Mississippi. December the 5th, which is coming up, my company Power Solutions will be 20. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And even though black don't crack, I was just 28. So I want to date me to seem like I'm old. Okay, so I want to talk about the future of work in solar, which I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about electrical anyway. I'm an industrial electrician by trade, which means I work in, I was trained to work in car plants, mills, paper mills, power plants, and I specialize in robotics and high voltage. And so a lot of people ask me, do we do residential? We don't do residential. So I'm gonna go ahead and begin. Okay, I want to thank you all for attending this panel because I know it's been like a long conference and it's a Sunday. I'm honored to participate, but I wanted to give a snapshot of what the current workforce in the solar industry looks like. A lot of times it's not on people's radar on about who's doing it. They just want it done. And my subtitle today is The Future of Green Jobs is Black. And I'm pretty unapologetic. I want to talk about just a couple of areas because I know we don't have a lot of time. Diversity, some of the statistics. I want to talk about recruitment and career development. I want to talk about where we are today. There's more than ever, people are focused on the adoption of solar energy, and they do this for sustainability. However, in an effort to educate and promote solar energy, it's imperative that we build this new industry with diversity and inclusion. Some of the things in construction, some of the positions in construction I can understand might not be as diverse because it's an old industry, one of the oldest industries. I am one of only 3% of electricians that are women. And among all tradespeople, only 2.9% are women. So you can imagine when it comes to African Americans, among skilled labor, only a little over 20% are African American. Women and African Americans were systematically discriminated against and kept out of the skilled labor, which is where you make the most money. So the ones which are like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, some of those we're the higher trades where we make about $80,000 to $120,000 a year. And so among solar workers, it's 242,000. Only 7.6% are African American. And you can imagine that really, really bothers me. And that's why I said the future of green jobs is Black, because we need to talk more about this, even when it comes to policy and how, as your local municipalities, whether it's the airport, any of your tax dollars that are used to train or to educate people to do jobs, we need to demand and we need to make sure that African Americans are in these higher jobs, higher paying jobs. Yeah. And so I wanted to do I don't know, Mission Impossible 007. So our mission, if you choose to accept it, as they say in the movies, is to increase the number of African American workers in the environmental and sustainability industry, which comprises green jobs for the future. And like I said, these are the areas I wanted to talk about, because we really need to think about, even in the times of today when people are essential, it's like how many Black people and how many women are in these higher paying jobs. We got to think about our children and the jobs for the future. And if we're going to have proper representation. And so I chose not to use, you know, people of color, because we need to talk about African Americans. And I'm in the United States. I don't know how many other people are from other places, but in the United States, we need to focus on African Americans. Not that people don't need to work too, but this, it makes no sense. I think sometimes when we talk about people of color, a lot of the times African Americans are just pushed to the back. So this is to give you a screenshot. The earliest the latest ones they had were 2018 from the last census recordings for the Department of Labor. So you can see here from the lack of diversity, and to see, you know, just from 2014 to 2018, 7.6% in African American. It's just, I don't know, it really bothers me, because this is my industry, and I know the amount of money that people can make in these industries is very doable. And as I talk to students, because I know we have a huge push on STEM, sometimes as I speak to students with, you know, with diverse classrooms, I let them know we were the original engineers and architects. They still don't know how the pyramids were built. They study Egyptian architecture because of that. It's like, so to say that Black people can't do math or not good and it's just the exposure. They just need the exposure, and they need someone to help them connect the dots and to show them a pathway to these jobs. So when you see, you know, white 73%, and even to see women at 26% today is still unacceptable to me. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the diversity efforts from the solar companies. And when you see the upstream firms are firms that are into research and development and manufacturing. Downstream firms are firms like myself that do the actual installation, and even some of the supply houses that do some distribution. And so these were self-reported. So these companies reported it themselves. And they say that they do this tracking, but the numbers are still not moving enough. And I'll share this presentation and share where I got these things from, if anyone wants to do any research, or if anyone wants to, you know, propose this to some of their elected officials so that we can get these numbers increased. Because like I said at the top, it's supposed to be, you can't grow what you don't measure. And I think a lot of the times they'll say they're tracking something, but to track something and not make any leeway on it makes no sense to anyone. I'll go to the next. Okay, so recruitment. This is what they say they use for recruitment. There's some were referred by, you know, by another employee, word of mouth. That's the most for both, for race and ethnicity. Internet postings, directly recruiting from a training program, and then also from job fairs. So when you look at a job fair, non-Hispanic or even non-Hispanic people, that's like the lowest. And if you, I don't know where you are, you know, different people, I know people do different things where they live, but we always have like job fairs, and you always have a company that's recruiting. That's like the lowest. So if people are referred by another employee, and most of the employees are white, then you're gonna get more white people. If it's by internet postings, and you gotta look, I don't think they're even looking at the data themselves to see what they can do to increase. I think the referred by employee mouth needs to change. People want to work with people they like. That's a natural thing. I understand that. But if you keep getting people that that's referring somebody from within your company, and these people only look the same, you will not increase your diversity. And I tell people, people that don't embrace minorities or women will not last. The United States is facing an unprecedented shortage in skilled labor. The biggest shortages are in male-dominated industries. And even those shortages have very few, male-dominated industries have the high-paying jobs have very few African Americans. It's like we have to do better as a company. I don't know how many companies are on here about recruiting African Americans. Career development. And I know that's like a big thing now. Everybody talk about workforce development. I had an exchange with a white woman the other day talking about workforce development and how they're doing a lot to bring people into this industry, into green jobs and into construction. But the jobs that they're training or giving these make-believe certificates for, that's because whatever the organization doing, they get their own little certificate. They're not even recognized nationwide when you go to other places to work. I am union, of course, I promote union. But even in that, it's like a lot of the times they recruit low-income Black people for the labor, like the lower positions. And one thing, and the reason I brought that up, because I wanted to repeat what she said. She was like, well, these people, well, at least they're working and they wouldn't otherwise be able to get a job. I said, well, the same tax dollars that paid for them to get their labor certificate can pay for them to get an electrician certificate. We have to push our elected officials, our private companies to do more. We as a people cannot accept the lowest job just because somebody working. And I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and we know about it's a huge wage gap here, but in the poor parts, well, the south parts of town of Metro Atlanta, the median income for a Black woman is $26,000 a year. That's why you see a lot of women with all these hustles. And then another thing, over 80% of African-American households are female-led households. So if you female-led households, that's why the crime is high, because children are trying to help their mom pay light bill. So I say all of that to say, I know I can get a little passionate about it, but if we help women and African Americans make more money, then our children can have better options and better opportunities and be exposed to more. So I see it, this is all connected. If you look on here, you got previous work, in-person networking, professional connections, and bachelor degrees. To install solar, a lot of this being a trade, you don't have to have the bachelor degrees and stuff to do it. Professional connections. A lot of people of low income don't have professional connections. And even previous work experience, a lot of them don't have that. We have to change where we look at for work. Construction, which is the solar industry is a part of that, is a hostile environment, I must admit. But I myself, I grew up in the project, and now my company, we do millions of dollars a year. And because I grew up in the project, I have a thicker skin. So people that grow up in poor or rough areas, they have what it takes to survive in this environment. And there's no shortage when it comes to intellect, or when it comes to, it's just the pathway or the access to opportunity to get into these jobs. And so the career development jobs that you see at workforce and workforce development or in the Department of Labor, we have to push them to do better about their third-party partners that they choose to get these tax dollars to educate our people. It's like we deserve better, and we deserve it to be in the $25 an hour and up jobs as well. I want to share my contact information. If anybody wants to contact me, I didn't mean to kind of ran a little bit, but I'm really passionate about this. And when they asked to speak on solar, it's like I think you can put on the internet and YouTube about videos about solar. So I wanted to talk about the lack of representation for African Americans in this industry because it's real. And
Thank you so much, Ms. Hicks. I understand your passion. That is the exact reason why I keep my company and I stay in charge of my company, because it's about being able to hire other people and distribute the wealth.
yes.
Miss Minefee, I wonder if she's still in here.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Hello, hello,
Good,
hello.
good.
Girl, how you doing? All right. So to present to myself, and you find people out there, my name is Jonelle Minefee, managing partner of Solar Time USA LLC, and I was looking forward to showing you guys an actual installation, but me and my clients' time frames cannot connect. So I'll show you a solar panel. Oh snap, got one of these. And so when you look at solar, solar generates direct current. Okay. This is a Canadian solar panel manufactured in Canada. But there are definitely there's solar manufacturing facilities in the United States, especially one in Georgia. And then on the back side of the solar panel, hello, you see you see the interconnection, how the panels are interconnected to each other, or if you have a direct current device, you can connect it there. Okay, bam. So, you know, I like to talk a little bit about the history of solar. Okay, and then off-grid solar. Okay, so when you
You
look at
got
this solar
about
panel,
5 minutes. Got
5 minutes.
and then we're gonna do questions.
Okay. So when you think about the history of solar, it started with the space age, okay? The space race. Let's jump into outer space. But how do you power your devices in outer space when there's no gas station, when there's no way or no means to power, get any hydrocarbons up there? You have to use the power that's already there. So some very smart people decided to develop the solar cell. With inside these solar cells, you have atoms, and when sunlight hits the atom, bam, it releases the electron. And if you look even closer, you see the little silver grid lines, and they actually absorb the sunlight. I mean, they actually absorb the electrons when they hit the when the sunlight hits the solar cell and releases those electrons in the atom. Okay, it's absorbed through these little grid lines, and then it goes all the way up to these little grid lines. Um tab of the silver tab here, and then on the back side, bam, it goes down this product line, and now you got solar electricity. Okay. One of the things that pushed solar so quickly was the off-grid need, as far as terrestrial electricity generation. So I just left Cobbtown, Georgia. That's where I was working with about 2 farmers there. They're looking at doing some solar projects on their facility. Why do you say? Well, the main reason is that um, electricity costs can get hectic for farmers. They only have a certain, profitability margin. And when you look at farmers and energy usage, sometimes their energy usage can be way high. And so, if we're able to help them with the USDA grant with the solar, they'll be in a very, very good place as far as becoming more profitable, as they say. Through the USDA, it's a 25% grant off the face value of the system, and working with farmers to accomplish just that. So very excited to share this information with you fine people. I currently sit on the board of the Georgia Solar Energy Association. I thank you, Ms. Tonya Hicks, for sharing your very serious point about not having as much diversity. Matter of fact, the folks are sometimes surprised. How did you get into solar? I think because I'm smart, you know. So we need to see more people of color in the solar industry. We need to see more women in high positions. And sometimes if you wait on other folks to make your way, uh, you just continue to wait. But if you push forward and you make sure your dreams happen, they happen for you in a big way. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is a powerful, powerful, powerful presentation. I love the diversity. We got a high up. We got a high up point of view. We got a what's trending and what's new point of view, and then we got a field perspective. You can't ask for too much more, when dealing with technical things. Now I'm gonna open it up. I have a question, and this is one that I made myself, and it's perfect. I noticed we had an all-women panel, so I wanted to ask y'all, what are some of the biggest obstacles y'all have faced as women in this industry? I know you kind of touched on it, here and there in your presentation, Ms. Hicks, but I would be interested to hear just from that perspective and then also how can the men help if we can. Whoever wants to start off first.
I'll start off. I think I mean, of course, you get the regular being underestimated, the regular discrimination. I kind of been out here a long time, so and after I didn't do any certifications like to be woman owned or minority owned until my 16th year in business. So for 16 years they thought I was the white man or something, and it was because usually when they find out you're a black company or you're a white or you're a woman, they treat you differently. So I wanted to prove myself with the work first. And so I even as early, late as last year, sometimes men don't even speak to me on the job. I had a issue last year where a guy didn't speak, and at the end of our walkthrough, I told him that everybody needs to work on their communication skills, and the white guy said, "Well, why would we do that?" I said, "Well, in the most humble way possible, you work for me. That's the only thing I can tell you. You work for me. This is my job. And if you're gonna work here, you gotta learn how to be professional and speak regardless if you like someone or not." And so I don't know, it's one of them things. I leave my feelings at the house with people that love me for the most part. I was raised in Mississippi by my grandmother, so I was raised as a Black woman to always represent the best of us. And I guess from a grit kind of standpoint, I ain't scared to go. I'm brave enough to go, and I'm hungry enough to stay. So I don't let nothing get in the way of what we got to do. That's pretty much it.
Okay, Dana, go ahead.
What obstacles have I faced? But I think the most timely for me, the most relevant right now, particularly when you're an entrepreneur out here with an innovation that no one has really seen. First, people are they're completely confused. That was for Solar Stewards the first 3 years, this blank, weird looks like, wait, why would equity be worth anything in an energy deal? I mean, to 2020, where we've had this social reckoning, and now everybody wants to steal the intellectual property. It swings from one way to the other. So what I would say, Black folks are the most innovative, the most creative. We have the brains and the stones to get out here and actually do it. Unfortunately, I have not seen the in-between area where where folks want to embrace it and maybe team. Jury's still out, want to have the benefit of the doubt, but I think intellectual property law, learning the patents and trade process, so critical. And this is just a little shout out to the African American Museum right there on Auburn Ave. They've got a beautiful exhibit where you can walk down and you can be inspired by all of these Black inventors. It's so gorgeous. You got to go and see it. But that's obviously not just for solar. That's anybody out here doing innovative stuff. Certainly in a tech field, you've got even more opportunity to do that. In an energy field, so much more opportunity. But protect your stuff. What can we say? I'm always inspired by with Mr. Green, who is the real brains behind the whiskey brand, Jack Daniels. Don't get Jack Daniels, gotta protect that. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Jonelle, did you have something to add to that, or you want to go to the next question?
Well, I'll add just a little bit.
Okay.
When my uncle, which is Herman J. Russell, and he said, if the door closed, then find a window. Okay. And granted, when I got in the industry and when I really started focus, is me and my mother's company. How did you get into solar? What do you do? What's all this about? They're looking, and then if I'm in a room with another solar installer and they're white, they gravitate to them instead of hearing what we have to say. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, I could beat them on costs all day long. But the issue is you got to stay focused, and you got to know in your heart and your mind what you are going to achieve, and you will attract that right type of client, that right type of partner, you might say. But you can't get discouraged, because if you get discouraged, it will eat you alive and it will take your joy, and you'll start figuring out ways and means to get out rather than to stay in. Okay. And so my experiences has been to go overseas. We're developing wonderful opportunities in Kenya and Uganda, seeing what we could do in Congo. And so we're not staying here, we're expanding ourselves. So I'm not going to let anybody limit me. They're limiting themselves. I am in control of this mentally. And what a man thinketh, so he become, a woman, So you stay in control mentally, and don't let the haters hate you. You continue to step your game up. That's all you need to focus on. That's all I got to say. Work on that.
Okay, that was so powerful.
Energy storage. I'm hearing a lot about the technology of energy storage, which is basically going to change everything with solar energy, because obviously they're so dependent on the sunlight, and during the nighttime or cloudy days you can't utilize it. So I'm hearing technology where they're actually making batteries out of seawater. So I want to know, how can we prepare ourselves so that we can get a jump start and take advantage of this new technology? Because right now, from what I understand, the owner of Tesla's building a gigantic factory, I think in Utah, in the middle of a desert, where they're going to be building nothing but the batteries specifically for homes, but they're prohibitively expensive. They're like $20,000 to $30,000 for a battery pack. So, I mean, what can we do here and overseas to the motherland? How can we find affordable ways of taking advantage of that technology?
So when you think about various forms of energy storage, so what you do is it's a collection of electrons, and so there's a certain part of the day that solar produces that peak hours. It produces quite a bit, but guess what? At nighttime, it doesn't produce that much, if anything. So you're trying to figure out a way that you can take that electricity and utilize it at night as well. That's where that significance of energy storage comes in. And at first they were using the lead base, then they went to lithium ion, lithium phosphate. Now they're talking about, and then they actually have been doing salt water on a larger scale. They've been looking at how can they even use air, molten salts, all that good stuff. But what is the most cost effective? There's brands and models that they got coming out right now. Oh, what is it? You got LG, you got Sonnen, you got was it Generac? Then there's others,
Panasonic,
that
yeah,
are
Panasonic, Tesla, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Tesla also.
Yeah,
But is it cost
yeah,
effective? So if you're looking in Georgia market, you know, our rates are pretty low. So the most cost effective battery probably would work. And like you have island settings where their rates are like 25, I've even heard of 50 cents. So wherever the rate is most higher, then it can be cost effective. But the real thing is like when you look at solar, when it first came out, it costs $100 per watt to manufacture. It was not cost effective at all, but it got the job
yeah.
done as far as off-grid energy usage. So I say we still have to look at more innovation, okay, where it can be cost effective. Some people don't care about the cost because they may finance it or they may just have the dough. You still get the tax credit associated with the battery system. And then you have tax depreciations as well. So it really just depends upon the financing and the way that end client and the location where they're gonna have that battery system at. But that's the next best thing. People are manufacturing all different type of batteries, and the one that could be the most cost effective will win that race as far as battery storage. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I know you guys, first off, my name is Adam. I'm here in Seattle, Washington. I started a nonprofit dealing with emerging technology, and I also have been working in the solar industry. I've been very interested in the peer-to-peer model, and I heard someone, I think, mention blockchain and how blockchain could, a mixture of AI and blockchain could help navigate the electrical exchange of energy completely remotely. Could anybody speak on that and how, if they've seen anything like that in the industry, or is it still a future concept?
Yeah, I can speak on that. So your question is, are there existing cases, actual use cases? Absolutely. Maybe not as much in the US. Let me kind of spell out 3 players. There's the Energy Web Foundation. They're kind of the open source model for this. So we're going to see if it's going to be more of a open source solution or if a private sector actor is going to take over. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be the latter. There's LO3. That's the and so the Energy Web Foundation is out of Europe. LO3 out of the US, technically Portland, but they have that Brooklyn microgrid. They're very interesting to follow them. I know that they've recently done something with Green Mountain Power in Vermont, recently as in last year. So how recent, what does recent mean in tech, you know, time, right? And then I have to say my favorite is Power Ledger. They're out of the Australia, Perth, actually. They're exactly 12 hours ahead. So certainly fun to do business when you 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. But they have a lot of test cases, Co-Woman founded, which I see reflected in their corporate culture, which is, you know, to some of those other points we were talking about being underestimated, or they've been a standout in my investigation of these technologies. And where Solar Stewards plays is we use a distributed ledger solution to authenticate our recs. That's not to say that we can't do a historical solution like Greenie or iRec, which is rather new. But all that to say, because of this technology, as in distributed ledger, exactly what you explained, we can start to aggregate this rec market from these DG sources. So instead of in a field somewhere, we can pull them all together, accomplish scale, and hit the market. So that's part of what Solar Stewards does. But I'm so excited about peer-to-peer, because that's how y'all can make some money off of this. You know, it's great to offset a cost, but out here hitting the pavement, selling solar, savings are great, but they're not the sexy thing people want to hear about. They want to hear about revenue. And it also gives us, you know, the power to control cost, whereas net metering is great because you get paid for extra, but someone else is setting that cost. It's not usually you. So I'm glad to hear that folks are interested in this. I think it's going to be a game changer. And I think that if we can, Black folks can get involved right now, then we'll have a real opportunity to play in this really cool field.
And I guess second part to my question is about community solar. I didn't really hear anything on it, and I'm very interested in kind of really merging those two, setting up community solar, producing that energy, and then somehow tracking it back. So if anybody wanted to speak on community solar just for a second.
I can take that one as well. Tonya, did you want to?
Well, I was just going to say that now on the community, because we mostly deal with like multifamily or commercial or industrial. We don't really deal with the residential, but I network with a lot of people that do. The only thing I want to just bring up to encourage you and to other people is start networking with the tech community and think about creating your own. The technology and everything is so new. Doing this with blockchain is so new. These people don't even know what they're doing, to be honest. They're trying stuff and figuring out. A lot of these white boys, they raise all this money, don't have no idea how they're going to do it.
Yep.
A lot of the time, and even like in California, and I'm not sure if it's the same in the state of Washington, but they've mandated that all new construction for residential be solar.
Yeah.
There's all type of incentives. There's all type of money for people, for minorities, and for women to do research and to create their own. I think it's always good to see what's out there and see what other people are doing in the network and become a part of this community, whether it is the Georgia Solar Association or whatever California, the different associations they have. You just need to be in the room. Trust your instincts. If you see something that don't exist, I'm telling you, you can put that stuff together yourself, and then you be like, and put together the necessary partner. Everybody talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk ain't created nothing. He hasn't innovated one thing. All he did was utilize what other people done created. So he chose their parts and he markets it. Same thing with Apple. They didn't create nothing. They just use other people's technology and made it sexy. Like But so I just want to encourage you. I know you asking to see what people in our community. It's enough information for you to research it. You need to be looking for what they ain't. What, show me. I always pray about it. Give me wisdom. Show me what everybody else missing. That's your end. That's what you want to do. And also show me the money. You want, like she said, you want to see, and it said, you want to see where the money being made. So, I mean, I don't know what your nonprofit is, but not to me, not for profit just mean you ain't paying taxes. You still got to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I will be reaching out to you.
Okay.
I would like to also add, as far as that community solar. So in Georgia, sad to say, we don't have community solar, or community solar can also be looked at like virtual metering. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you put solar panels. Um, that's where you put solar panels on top of a roof of a building, and that could be sold to the office tenants or to the residential tenants as far as apartment complex is concerned. So it can be put in the parking lot or on the roof of a building, and that can be sold. That also is great for, like I had a um housing authority. Oh, you know, I'm so sorry, but it's like LaGrange Housing Authority, okay? And they were interested in doing a community solar opportunity. And guess what? We don't have it here in Georgia, but that'd be a great place to source that, because if there's grants available, these type of organizations are in need of training people. They're local folks that could work on the project. You could train them out directly. But I mean, you could target subdivisions. You know, you guys want to go in together and own your own electricity. You know, there's all different type of ways that you can get people together. Condo associations, that's a good avenue. When you talk about community solar, just kind of really um, do your research about that and go for those opportunities, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
And one more thing, Adam, make sure that your goals are clear. What are you doing this for? Are you doing this to help people save money? Are you doing this to make money? Or are you doing this to conserve energy? A lot of the times when you give people an alternative source that they don't have to pay for, they don't tend to save either. So,
Yeah.
like, I think you should need to, if you're a nonprofit, do that by showing people an alternative source of energy. Also help them learn how to conserve energy.
Yes.
You still don't have to totally disconnect from the grid. Then you need to do some risk assessment, all type of things. Okay, what happens if somebody come by and steal your stuff? What you gonna do? It's like, I think a lot of times people think they can plug up to something free and they can just do what they want to do. And then sometimes people think about, like, I guess in California, when I think it was P&E or whatever, when they shut down the power, all these people with solar that didn't have any battery backup.
Yeah.
And then not. So you need to also help people learn how to create a plan.
Yeah.
Like, with all different kind of scenarios. Well, if this happened, well, I'm gonna source something else. Because once you pay out the people to come put up this solar, if something is damaged by an act of God or whatever happens,
Yeah.
they need to know where to go and what to do to get that stuff replaced. It's so you can't just out here.
Anything from you, Dana, on that question?
Yeah, just to build on what the ladies shared, I think, policy is so important. So before you invest in a market, make sure you understand what you can and can't do with the utility. Like Jonelle was saying, we don't have community solar down here. That's just a limitation of the policy. It's not like it wouldn't work here or we don't have enough sun or anything like that. So also, if you keep hitting them roadblocks, maybe you're just not thinking big enough, and just keep moving upward until you kind of find that sweet spot. Certainly though, community solar is one of those avenues of solar that's going to pop off. It's the utilities understand that it's probably one of the safest things that they can do to keep their market share but still look equitable. But also, I think maybe as a nonprofit, and we could, talk about why you chose that model for business, because, I'm a social enterprise. I think the other ladies on here are for profit as well. We got to build this generational wealth. We don't necessarily need to, but I get it. I totally get it. That said, maybe there's an opportunity for a nonprofit in the space to hold community solar that's done by the utilities accountable. I mean, think creatively, because there's a lot of opportunities in this market to be very niche and also work in that intersection of equity. But it's exciting. Your questions are exciting, and especially in the Northwest, things are really developing there. So,
and a nonprofit can't own a for-profit. So a nonprofit can own a for-profit entity long as all those resources are utilized for the nonprofit. But you need to get in the way of the money. I don't care what happens. It's like I think sometimes people be a little too humble to the point that they be broke. So
that's me.
Right. That's the thing. And one good thing is if you know that's who you are to your core, partner with somebody that's about the money. It's like sometimes you don't try to operate outside of who you are. You can focus on helping the community, that the other person focus on getting the money. And, that's just a suggestion.
I have a question. Is it okay?
Say your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me open up my video. My name is Mama Nabantu.
Oh, Mama, okay.
Mama Nabantu.
The video keeps going on.
Spotlight on you.
Okay. I have a friend who has an invention. It's a generator that uses water and solar energy, but no gas, and has a remote control on it. And I have a 1 minute commercial, but I don't know if we have time for that 1 minute. But he is engineers working on the prototype. And so I'm just wondering, for those out here on this platform, what funding may be available for an inventor like this? This is a brother, and he's been struggling since 2015 when he came up with the invention. He has the patent for it, and he's trying to hold on to that patent before somebody takes it from him. So I'm just wondering how we can get funded on his prototype.
What does he need funding for?
For the prototype.
For the prototype. The federal government has funding depending on what department it is to help him with some research, but for the prototype. But you're gonna have to. That's one of the things you got to do something like with because you say he got the patent for it, and if he has the patent for it, I think you can get a manufacturer to give you a cost. I'm not sure how much funding. You know how much funding he's looking for?
I think they want, if I remember correctly, it's about $100,000.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Well, that's it's like he's gonna have to partner with a company that he thinks, because a lot of these companies, they have investment arms. They have investment. He gonna have to give up. He might have to give up something. He might have to give up a percentage of the equity. Nobody out here just give you $100,000 just try your stuff out. It's like you gotta. If he's not connected to people that got the money, he's gonna have to do. Sometimes you can do pitches, the way you can pitch your ideas and pitch for money, so you can start raising some money to Sometimes you can do a crowd fund. There's a lot of different funding options, but to be a lot, what I see a lot of engineers do, they come up with all this stuff, then they sit on it, then somebody else come up with something like it. Then now your patent ain't work. For him to have a patent, he put a lot of money in that patent. Patents ain't cheap. So he needs to get in either accelerator or some type of program for minorities that helps tech innovators to invent, so he can raise the seed money in order to build that prototype. That's what he needs to do. Other than that, nobody just gonna be giving you $100,000 to build something that they not gonna have a part of.
I'm just wondering, is Raina on the platform, or Charles?
I think Jonelle is trying to say something.
I would like to also add into that, really reach out to the Department of Energy, because they are quite interested in up and new and coming concepts, you know. So, you know, don't be shy about it. Reach out to them and see what they say. Okay. Number two, there's something called contract manufacturing. Okay. So let's say he does have his patent. Contract with a manufacturer to manufacture the product. But do not take that to China. Leave it in the United States. I know Chinese, it makes it sound so, they do it so cost effectively that they will steal that design and redesign it themselves and sell that thing all overseas. Even here too, it doesn't matter. So be very careful. Look at your contract. Make sure he has a good lawyer, because that's very cool.
He's going to need a lawyer. He's going to need a lawyer.
Yeah, he's going to
need a lawyer.
He needs to have if he needs to be in charge of that contract. He who writes the contract controls the agreement. Okay, it's a sacred rule. Okay, and if he comes to them with a contract, they know he's serious. He comes and says, "Let me get your contract," then, you know, and if he doesn't have a lawyer to at least review the contract, then he's open for problems. Okay. So yes, get yourself a private, that make a pitch, find a private partner that has some money that can help develop the project, the prototype, but be very careful that this same person doesn't take and say, "Hey, I could do it myself," once I understand how it's done.
And that's his biggest fear, that somebody's going to take it and run with it. So
go to DOE first, Department of Energy. Look it up online. Call them up. They'll be more than happy to see how they can possibly work with them. Start there first.
Thank you so much. Sister Erica, let's turn it over to you, and then we'll get some closing thoughts from our panelists and head to the after party.
Yeah, this is a topic that I love. I'm actively involved here in Atlanta around the renewable energy aspect. And I was wondering if, I'm going to throw out several questions. If the panelists could talk about renewable energy beyond solar. I think we put ourselves in boxes when we talk about renewable energy, and there are other opportunities that when we talk about job training and how we support our communities that are available to us, that we sometimes we stop at solar. And I was wondering, one, if you all could talk about renewable energy in a broader context, and what some of those other opportunities are. Let me see if he's gonna let me do it. And then as well as barriers to community solar peer-to-peer blockchain as it relates to the regulations and policies. And I say this because we're voting, and how many of you know of your public commissioners and the role that they play in this conversation that we're having right now? They are very, very important, because they are the ones here in Georgia, at least, that have a lot to do with the decisions that then regulate power companies such as Georgia Power and so on. So when we think about barriers,
I like to address initially the questions relating to what other forms of power generation are out there before outside of solar. Solar is one of the most easiest means to throw up a solar panel anywhere. You have energy generation, right? But you have wind. Is it windy enough for that? They looked at doing some wind farm opportunities in North Georgia, but people like that pristine mountainous view, and they're not that interested in seeing that. But when you talk about like off the coast of, I mean, I know Georgia well, but
Or like
off.
hydrothermal, like for here in this Piedmont Atlanta region, going in the ground is so stable for us. And oftentimes we don't even look at and think it's expensive to go underground as we think about geothermal and other ways of supporting solar with energy efficiency and other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just would
Yeah,
love for us to
I've
broaden the
heard of
conversation.
I- I've heard of certain like hotels that use I wouldn't say necessarily, well, yeah, geothermal, um but they use it more in terms of like cooling the air conditioning system, because that's the most expensive. um you know Certain like manufacturers, I haven't heard that much of it used in Georgia. My main focus is Georgia, but sometimes plants will use it, especially the ones that are close to where they go so deep into the ground. It's easier for them to tap into that. Sorry, excuse me, so many bugs out here. Um, uh, it's close enough so they don't have to drill so far down because you have the expense of drilling. Um, but I mean, I haven't heard as much into geothermal because that's not my lane. Also, let's not forget hydro and wind and tidal energy. Okay, that's a biggie. And that could be put right on the coast. Look, talking to some people in possibly in Kenya about that, but they do have that border dispute with I think is it one of them, it's not South Sudan, one of the coastal uh countries there. But you have both tidal energy on as far as the top of the oscillation of the waves in the ocean, but also subcurrent. Okay, so that's a big thing there. I've seen a lot of projects like that in China. They're using that to power like hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of homes there. Um, Let me see what else. Um, Now let's talk about instead of just having like blocking up a dam, you siphon off a little bit of the water, and it's a turbine, and it flows. It's safe for fish, and it turns a turbine. It can produce like you know 20 to oh maybe 5 or 6 megawatts. You'd be surprised, but stuff like that is very doable. Um,
Just
and
one other question. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to make two other points. Dana, you mentioned something about social entrepreneurship, and it has me thinking about social impact investing. A lot of us are looking at alternative ways of getting revenue, especially if you are in a business model and that there are folks investing in product, especially in renewable energies, that are looking for the social aspect of that. Case in point, I did not know until we started working with them. Who knew that the Sierra Club Foundation had a whole social impact investing portfolio, meaning that even some of these philanthropic arms have these capital means to invest in our ideas and to bring things to fruition. So I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, we've been talking all weekend about collective coming together around economics and resources. One of the things that are missing that's a great barrier to energy efficiency is the upfront cost. So one of the things that could be created is a renewable energy efficiency equity fund that is able to accept donations, grants, philanthropic, whatever, that would allow for us to cover things like that upfront cost. Case in point, in Atlanta, there are lots of these rebate programs, but I have to have the the money up front to be able to then recoup. And so if there was some mechanism to allow for our own crowdsource funding to address renewable energy and energy efficiency, how important, and is there a place for that? And lastly, the connection between renewable energy and energy efficiency. We can't talk about solarizing older homes if they haven't been properly fixed so that they actually can hold the energy, and that conversation where the two need to merge. Thank you.
Yeah, let me go in reverse order. So energy efficiency is so important. I think one thing that's coming around are CDFIs, Community Development Investment Funds. I think that's what the acronym is. You know, came out of the Credit Reinvestment Act, Community. Anyway, CFA, that act, you know, and that was decades ago. So it needs a refresh, if I may say so. But look to CDFIs for increased investment in energy efficiency. I think they're finally getting to understand what energy has to do with energy burden and impact. I can throw that out there as a source. I love energy efficiency people. They are the sweetest. I don't know, something about their work. They're just always, you know, I think Tonya had said, you know, construction can get pretty cutthroat, and that is so true. The energy efficiency people, they just seem to be just, and they've done the most work on equity out here. So anyway, you need energy efficiency, particularly if you don't have policy to sell any extra like net metering or even this, you know, peer-to-peer in the future. But you know, where you have to use all that power, do what's called behind the meter. It's so important that you've done all of your energy efficiency work. It's kind of like stretching before you work out or something. You know, you got to do that before, or else you're going to run into problems. Information about ESG investing. You know, what's tricky about that is they want public companies. So I've been out, you know, trying to find third-party funding. I think I dedicated at least 6 years of my life up and down and around. Luckily, right now, we've got a great partner. They're a nonprofit. They used to be the Connecticut Green Bank, so they've got, you know, some experience behind them. One of the great things about them is they will give our customers a buyout at year 5 or 10. You know, a power purchase agreement is 20 years, so anytime you can own a long-term asset, it's typically better for you. So anyway, but when you're a business looking for that type of ESG financing, you know, that's usually like, from what my experience, they want a public company that's, you know, being traded, and they can put you in a mutual fund kind of thing. So someone had spoke earlier about some avenues, you know, whether it's an angel. And angels want to see a crazy return. So typically it doesn't factor into social enterprise, at least in my experience. You know, the whole point of my business is not necessarily 25% return. And even if it was, it's a bit extractive. You know, the whole point of a social enterprise is, yeah, you make money to build your own, you know, wealth and accelerate your company, but you also have a social. It's not, you know, maximize profits at any cost, which is what, you know, we see as kind of the biggest crutch of capitalism right now. But one thing that's good is, even though we've got major systemic racism and not so inclusive economic systems in the States, when I go to impact investment type of conferences, they're not focused on the United States. Maybe that'll change. Maybe that has changed, because, you know, I'm reflecting on probably 3 years ago right now. But continent of Africa, you know, and these terms that they throw out, what, you know, what does developing mean? I don't know, but they are focused on those. It's just a way to do those responsibly. You know, when it was asked about different sources of, I'm familiar with solar. My business, Solar Concierge, I always joke I'm not, wind concierge or, I love solar just because I think Jonelle was saying the simplicity, and she showed you, where you can kind of plug and play. But fuel cells are exciting. I love tidal. I think tidal's very exciting. But I'm also in love with distributed generation resources. So they have to be, fairly small and can be co-located. I think that's the biggest challenge. So maybe look for fuel cells. In the future, I think fusion will be what we use to be out in space, colonizing other planets. What was it? Was that all the questions? I think I missed one, but hopefully that was a little bit helpful.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I know there's more discussion related to that, but I just want to get you all's closing thoughts. We've gone 30 minutes over, which is an important discussion. But let's just try to conclude and see if we can continue the conversations. Actually, at the mixer, we'll let people kind of chat more, probably in a breakout room or in the Hoover app. So just closing thoughts. Dana, just kick it off, please. Kind of call to action.
Yeah, call to action. Well, one, first and foremost, thank you. And thanks for everybody who stuck around, particularly for the extra time. This panel really came together. I think it was beautiful how we all spoke on all the different aspects of solar. So my call to action, if you're looking to get involved in this, there are so many opportunities. It's not, it's not just one thing. If you are a tax professional, you can focus on solar. Obviously, if you're an electrical contractor, you can focus on solar. If you are in the policy field, you can focus on solar. If you do financing, you can focus on solar. If you're a banker, you can focus on solar. I mean, if you're in real estate, you can focus on solar. Energy touches every aspect. And even one of the things that I've loved about my business is being able to also learn about other businesses, because when I ask for those utility bills and I see the varying things, all of a sudden I'm learning what ice cream maker is working at what time. It's really cool. So much opportunity. My final thought is think forward. If you're stuck in the now, the tech is moving so fast that by the time you hit the market, you're gonna be, at least you're gonna have way too much competition. So think inquiry and then think 3 steps ahead, and you'll be successful. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks for other panelists.
Thank you. Miss Tonya.
Thank you.
Let's see if you, Miss Jonelle, you were out in the dark, so concerned. It's getting dark where you are. You have some closing thoughts? Oh, you're inside now. Okay. Good.
Yeah, one thing I like to say is be innovative. Don't keep yourself in the box. Don't say, okay, this is the way it's done. I'm gonna do it this way. No, because you're going with the mainstream, and you got to differentiate yourself from your competition. Learn your industry very well. Do not just skim it. I know, folks go get their knapsack degree or certificate, and they say, let me have them. No. Also learn how, with your niches, go into a specific area and expand on that and conquer that. Okay. Solar is awesome, but then there's things outside of solar. Don't forget the rural communities, because they're there. Figure out how you can help, not just work with but help your client. Act like you care about your client, and see how you can really make people feel appreciative of what you provide. And then next you could build off of word of mouth. Okay. And do your best to tap into the media. Let people know that people look like you are doing things, because if they only see people that look like this, they will look at you like, are you sure you know what you're doing? So continue to see how the best way you can get yourself out there, and have fun. Have fun. Don't feel any other way. If you run to a roadblock, check it off. Go another way. There's always another way to be successful. Don't stop the magic, people. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. All right, Miss Tonya Hicks. Any closing?
I think I wanna the last thing I want to say is to bring the bring the attention back to jobs and encouraging people to get jobs in solar energy or any renewable energy. We operate in biofuels, hydropower, and solar. We don't just do solar. And it's wide open out here. It's like the wild, wild west, almost like the cannabis industry. Opportunity for everybody, and everybody, everything is going to have its obstacles. But I think so many people are like, well, this is not fair. This is not the, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Everything, especially in a pandemic, is negotiable.
Wow.
You encourage people to make these solar plans or plans for renewable energy. Make sure you have a plan on who's going to work on the stuff if it fails or if something happens. And I wouldn't go all out straight to solar, to be honest. I would do, I would do part grid, part solar. I would work on conserving energy, changing my habits, maybe using solar in a day, maybe, I wouldn't totally disconnect it from the grid. And I wouldn't spend a lot of money on technology that's changing every day.
Yeah.
It's almost like people getting it, when you remember when them flat screens were like $15,000. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, it's a lot of, and people have made a lot of solar investments over the past 5 years. Now they need to upgrade or do something different. So I think educate yourself as much as possible, negotiate everything, and get to know who your installers are or who your partners are. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If they're not, you want people that operate with integrity and people that have character. Because especially, and don't nobody have no money to be losing. So I guess that was a lot to say at the end.
All real talk. Well, thank you all so much for being part of the summit and doing this panel. We're so grateful for this. Well, let's keep conversations going in the Hoover app and at this after party, and everybody will be able to contact this panel and other speakers directly. So thank you all again for joining us, and have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Said I brought that old thing back. I brought that old thing back. We want that